This is a question for Joe. East Anglia is going to bear the brunt of climate change in the next few years, dry climates, wetter winters. Have you thought about changing some of your crops or looking at different varieties that might be suited to more extreme climates?
Good question. No, is the honest answer. I think we certainly are looking at different varieties to grow and challenging the mindset that we have. So challenging, for example, what we think is the right time to drill a crop. We might sort of challenge that rationale. So, last year we drilled at a certain time and then we got affected by the drought and the heat. So this year we did the opposite and we tried to change it and then had a perfect spring and summer and had too many carrots. So so no, we haven't, but I think it definitely forces us to challenge our thought process in terms of what we do agronomically.
Hi, thanks very much, Joe. That's really interesting. Could you just talk us through your final bullet point on that slide, please?
So controversial because I have this fear that everybody thinks there's a silver bullet to farming and there isn't. I think we're all told that we should go down this min-till route. That's like the fashionable thing at the moment, and I'm not sure I agree. I think there's potentially going to be problems from going down the min-till route. We should look at GM. Yeah, might be great, might not be great. I think we don't actually know the consequence of some of these things, and we're telling people to do them. I think ploughing for us at the moment has a place. It's not perfect. We use it for cleaning up the field, and we don't have a way of growing root crops without ploughing a field currently, so we have to do it. That said, I also don't believe that ploughing destroys entirely the biodiversity of the soil or the health of the soil, because, as I said, we're producing really healthy vegetables and other healthy crops. We've got really good earthworm counts, we've got good soil organic matter. So I guess what I'm trying to allude to there is no silver bullet, and ploughing might be right on my farm, might not be right on someone else's, but I think we've just got to be open-minded.
It's really interesting that you are building soil organic matter with land under the plough. It'd be really interesting to see the profile of soil organic matter. Are you sampling every year for soil organic matter as well through ignition test? Yeah.
Hi, it was really interesting to hear that the two of you have worked together, farmers and researchers, and often one of the issues is that the research that's been done in labs or in universities isn't necessarily being transferred to on the ground. If you were to make any recommendations about how farmers, be they tiny farmers, like just an individual on a farm or part of an organisation that's farming, how have you managed to have a culture of integrating this research and continued professional development, if you will, in your day?
I think of myself as like a modern, innovative farmer, and I can't rest unless I know that we're the best that we can be, so I actively want to go out and find that information. I think Rosemary is a good example of somebody that's got hands-on experience, so she speaks English, she's a practical person, and she understands our challenges, and so the information that she gives us is very useful. There are lots of papers that are published, lots of information that's published that I don't have the time to read or can really be bothered to read. So I think it is about trying to get researchers and scientists to engage better with us, first and foremost, but equally you have to be open-minded and want to get out there and find that information. I think by nature, in organic farming and the sort of approach that we take, because we're preventatively minded, it kind of almost forces you to go out there and find that information. Yeah.
So particularly at this event, but generally agroecology is championing the small farm. Personally, is there any time you think that genuinely you'd rather be a smaller farmer, or is this big, mechanized, thousands of acres still your thing? Deep in your heart?
I think so. I come from a dairy farming background. I've always been in and around large livestock, arable farms, and I enjoy, I guess, because I went to university with a lot of guys that were farmers' sons, if you like, that are just going to inherit big parcels of land and are quite belligerent about it. I kind of like the fact that I can challenge them, and whilst they sniggered at me for going into organic farming, I can now, say...
You said you wouldn't swear.
Well, didn't physically swear. So, yeah, I don't know, I could certainly apply all of my knowledge to a smaller scale farm, and to be fair, 500 acres of veg is actually small if you compare it to the majority of large-scale conventional vegetable farmers. My 500 acres is probably 10 times smaller than their scale, so I sort of perceive it small in that sense.
Great. That's fantastic. Well, thank you. And I think that's a really genuine point, is that, that we have these production systems that we use in the small scale and we don't think they apply to large scale, and they do. And these can be scaled up, and it's very evident that it just takes a level of management, but also of detailed knowledge to really make resilience in everything. So that's a good point to end on, I think. If you've got burning questions, please come along to St Alders room, just through there. Just one last plug, both Rosemary, and I'm not sure if you know, Joe, but you've had a write-up of your farm in our organic growers. We had a write-up on your farm recently, so I didn't know if you know that, but in the Organic Growers magazine, which is a journal that we produce quarterly. It's fantastic, lots of information, and tries to bridge this gap between growers, researchers, and that peer-to-peer knowledge. And also agroecology are much more on the same level as us, and have a plethora of information, advice on their website and YouTube channel. So please check us both out. And thank you very much for coming.